Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today. Listen, I don't have a beard. I've got this glorious mustache. But even this stash deserves elite care. That's where Wicked Wolf Beard Co. comes into play. Their oils and balms keep the face fuzz fresh, soft, and ready for action. No crusty cowboy nonsense here. It smells great, feels great, and makes me look more like I lift heavy things. Beard, mustache, or something in between, Wicked Wolf's got your mug covered. Wicked Wolf Beard Co. Respect the stash. Head on over to Wicked Wolf Beard Co. and use code PLDEN for 25% off your order. Shout out to my guy Bear over at Summit Performance Therapy, the only person I trust to scrape me, needle me, and massage me, and fix my squat at the same time. If your joints sound like microwave popcorn, or you've been limping since Tuesday's deadlifts, Bear's your guy. He knows lifters, he is a lifter, and he's got magic hands, dry needles, and a deep understanding of how to not let your body fall apart. Book a session and tell him the PL Den sent you. Summit Performance Therapy. Reach your summit. Powered by Bear. Literally. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I wanted to bring on Heidi Howar. Heidi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Heidi. I've been in Multiply. Now that I'm in Raw. I have been powerlifting for about nearly 15 years. I've been in it for quite some time, and I don't know what to say. Can we start over?
No, we're good. It's just roll with it. So I guess to get started, like with every guest, I like to get their background. And for you, I know your background was kind of just, you were just kind of training one day and then kind of got bit by the bug. So maybe tell us about how that kind of happened.
Yeah, so I actually um, started out at it was like a racquetball club. Like it was literally just the shittiest gym you could ever imagine. Like broken equipment. Um, but I went there and then I went to like an all ladies gym and did some like cardio classes and wasn't like getting the results I wanted. So then I like found myself in the weight room and that's when I started like weight training and I was like squatting 2 plates. My biggest goal was to bench a plate. Like I thought that was like the coolest thing. Like I remember like getting to a quarter and I'm like, wow, I'm benching 95 pounds. Um, so then I'd been deadlifting, I think around 250, 275 was like my max. After that, I started Riley's dad like was already lifting at that time too, but we'd go at separate times. Like I went to a females, an all women's gym, and he went to mostly the racquetball club. But I'd come in there and he'd spot me sometimes. But after he was kind of getting serious, he got an invite to go to Pacificos, and there were some like local people that were in that gym at the racquetball club, and then there was, they were like, "Hey, you should check this gym out." So he went there and it was like a 3 hour workout. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, who takes that long? There's no, like, I didn't even hear from him. So I'm just like, something's wrong. So my workouts were like 45 minutes to an hour and his were too. They were just like bodybuilding workouts. So after that, um, he started powerlifting and I thought it was like crazy. Like he was talking about like people smacking each other and like ammonia. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's so wild. Like it was weird to me at the time. So then December, he did his first competition, which was like north of the border at Laura Phelps gym. And I watched it and I was like in awe. Like I thought it was the coolest thing. They they had a few females that were lifting. That was like Burley Hawks. I think I watched Burley Hawk's first meet. I think that was his first raw meet. And there was like unbelievably strong people. So I saw what the girls were lifting and I'm like, well, why not? Like let's try this. So then the next um he did the competition. I tried to go to the gym on that Monday and ended up squatting 315.
Oh wow.
The bar rolled like they put knee wraps on me for the first time, and I remember the bar, like, like when it skinned your neck?
Yeah.
You ever had that? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's happened to some people at least once, and that scared the shit out of me, and I came back on Wednesday and benched, and, that's when I was, like, super raw, super flexible, and my mobility was great, so, like, my arch, I remember them putting, like, Jimmy put, like, foam roller, like, in between my my back, and I was, like, literally benching with that. That's how I learned how to arch, and they wouldn't let me compete right away, so they let me like, I competed, and I saw that's when I met Janine Whitaker, which was, like, my future training partner. Um, Trained with her for a little bit. Well, I wanted to train with her, but they told me I was not world record level, and I wasn't strong enough yet, so I couldn't train with her, and I thought that was bullshit. So then sometimes we would train together, and um, once I got strong enough, I did my first meet. I think I squatted 315. I benched 150, 155, somewhere like that. And then deadlifted 300. And that was um, at Laura's gym as well. And after that, I was like, okay, like I am really in this. I didn't train too long at Pacificos. I wanted to train with Laura and her girls. And that's how I kind of ended up there. And I took Janine with me. And that's how, we trained all together over there. So we would actually drive. That was in Dayton, Ohio. And then Laura's was in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we would just drive. And that was when Riley was like she was still in, I think, like, but in the beginning of it, it was like kindergarten. So that was like her first, second, third grade. So I would just drop her off to school off at school and then go to the gym and then come get her. So it didn't end up kind of working out. But as I started to train heavier, those were like those days, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I would train on my other days, just like at the racquetball club. So
Yeah. So kind of touching back, I wanted to bring up something that you mentioned, like you weren't, they said you weren't cut out to train with them. And I think that kind of brings up an interesting topic on kind of introducing new members to a crew. Like obviously crews change over time, like you've seen, I'm sure with your current crew, your past crews and things like that. So
sure.
maybe if you're talking to someone who's starting up their own crew or kind of joining a crew, like how's your mentality of like what their experience level needs to be or like how welcoming, because I think it's awesome to be able to welcome new people in, but at the same time I feel like you have to be a little bit selective.
Yeah, so honestly, like my opinion about this has kind of changed. Because now I welcome, if you're serious and I can teach you and you can kind of adapt and be like, you're coachable and you bring something to training, I think, like, why not? They don't have to be the strongest. Before it was like broken up into strengths, and like we always had crews that were super, super serious. I remember the first week I got to Westside, like there was a girl that just kept not showing up. And it was literally my first, maybe second week. I might stand corrected on that. But Lou was like, hey, go kick that girl out. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, he literally put that on me, and I'm just like, "Great, awesome." And I felt like an asshole because I had not even been there that long, but she just didn't make the cut. And so, like, back then, I guess my definition of a, crew member was they have to show up. They have to be absolutely like it's like showing up for work. Um, you have to be serious. You have to, there's same strength levels. I think that's why we lifted so much bands at Westside, because like it was so efficient. Like it was always me and Lou on, doing rack heights, and he would help load, and it was just like so fast. Someone would be doing box height, someone would be doing, pulling mono, somebody be loading weight. So it was just like in and out within very, very quick time. But so that time, my qualifications for like crew members were very, very strict and very serious. Um, but now I think that's changed to, are you a good human? um, like, what can you bring to the group? Like, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to, because there's like the group we have now. I mean, we have super, super strong people and we have super, they're just kind of middle of the road, but like they're great humans and they bring a lot to training. They show up, they're reliable, they're just actually good people, they're fun to be around. And like I actually enjoy training. There's no drama. I think that would be my biggest qualification for absolutely zero tolerance. Or if you're a shitty human, like sorry, no, no thanks. Not involved, like not even touching it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like having like a strength standard for a crew is kind of ridiculous to a point, unless like you want to be that super selective elite crew that you only want to have like 5 or 6 guys or girls, and like that's its own story. But I think what you were saying, like, yeah, obviously be a good human, you don't want any drama to come out of a training crew, but I think the most important is the reliability of, because you can be a crew member or you could be someone who like sometimes trains, but you have to kind of distinguish that, because if you're a crew member, then your other crew relies on you. And when you show if you show up to a squat on Sunday morning and half the people aren't there, then if you're in gear, like I can't squat, I need like 9 people to help me. I need three
Right.
three on the side, someone behind the mono, someone calling depth. Like you can't
Absolutely.
just, you have to have that expectation of, that's why I think I like to say this. John likes to say that, John Rupo, like it's like a sports team. Like you signed up for the sports team, you go to practice.
Yes, yes. And that's, as I've gotten more into like stepped into more of the raw world, like we all still were there at this mostly the same time. We all like we have like reliable spots. Like we have a crew, we have a team, but it's taken very serious, but it's also like more lighthearted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we're all like, I'm not wearing briefs. Like I need like, Mike helps me get out of my knee sleeves because they're tight as shit. But I mean that's literally it. But like as long as we have like, you know, spotters and they're just it's not like how it is in multiply, I guess.
Hmm.
But that's a different, like you can't just go do multiply. Like I'd have people reach out to me and like, how do I start a crew or how do I, I want to, I can't just bench by myself in a shirt. Like, no, you can't. Like that's literally impossible.
Yeah. And so,
I wouldn't want to do that. And it's like, if you're putting on a shirt and then like self-handing that, like, no, thanks.
no,
No.
I don't even like to
Get that
self
crew.
hand off with like 335 raw. So like I think,
Yeah.
and it's like obviously like there's a point where like you need to be able to like train and kind of adapt to something if it happens, but at the same
Right.
time, like I was saying before, if you have people that you're relying on to be there, you got to expect them to be there.
Absolutely.
But so we'll kind of talk about, obviously you started off raw and then got into multiply, kind of same as me, but you've been competing raw again. So I guess before we dive into some of your meets and some of the differences, do you have any plans to compete multiply again, or you think you're done with that?
Um, like I'll joke about it, but probably not. Like I think I would want to do like a single ply meet. I think that would be fun, but I don't. I'm never. And I'm not going to say never, but like I don't see myself getting back into it. Um, I'm having so much fun with raw, and I know like probably a lot of your audience is going to be like, "That's so gay," but it's it's been such a challenge. Like everything that I've learned, I've had to like almost unlearn to be successful in it, which is wild. Like my squat stance, like I'm such a like posterior chain, very dominant hamstring glute. Like it's almost like I felt like a baby deer. And now I think if you like almost, I wouldn't say a year, but I'd say like 7, 8 months, it's taken me this long to like correct it. Like last night I squatted and I'm still like using chains and stuff like that. Like I think that stuff I feel like at home with. But my stance is super different. Like I've had to just unlearn everything. It's been pretty weird. But um uh circling back, um, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I'll just plant a seed just to plant a seed, but I mean, you're so close to that 1600 total, and you got to think that that raw base you have now would only carry over into multiply so well. So just
yeah, maybe. But like I if I did, I would just go like if I felt my absolute like just strongest, um, yeah, I would just throw it on, then be done with it.
Squat 7, get that 16 to 100. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and then just be done. I'd be happy with that, but,
and
like, if I didn't, I'd be okay with that as well.
and I
So,
think it kind of brings up an interesting thing too of kind of the people who bounce back and forth. And obviously, you've been doing multiply for several years to where you kind of generally just know like what you're doing at this point. And I think
right,
people that have that can be able to bounce back and forth. And when they get back to it, there's not a huge adjustment curve because it's kind of
no,
second nature to them. So
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
even if you were to just throw it on for a day, it'd be interesting to see just like where you could land now.
And I might do that, like, honestly, like, I'm not competing raw till, it's supposed to be September, but now it's October, but, um I mean, I might do that just for fun. Um, Actually, it's funny because my boyfriend, Mike, he just threw on like Lou bought me a 36 deadlift suit and he was able to, I have huge legs. So like I can wear a 36, but it's kind of like, I mean, it fit me, but like mostly I would wear my 34. But he deadlifted it like last week. He like benched single ply. He wore my fusion. But it was just fun to just like put on gear. Just I think he squatted in it as well. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and also I think it's even if they have no plans to ever compete or um, they just honestly might not be interested. I think I'll say it time and time again. I think using even just a pair of briefs or, like you said, a single ply shirt or some sort of like band device, whether it's a figure eight or a widowmaker or anything, to train in that is going to increase your raw lifts so much. And people just don't understand that, like, just because you're using a pair of briefs doesn't mean it's doing all the work. And obviously, that's a recurring conversation in the gear versus equipped world. But
Right,
I
right.
mean, I added 90 pounds to my raw total after doing a prep right after hopping into a multiply meet. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's got some carryover.
but I think we'll talk about some of the differences you've seen in the different divisions, maybe some of the things you loved about each and some of the things you hated about each.
Okay. Starting with multiply.
Yeah.
Okay. Multiply. I like that you have like these crews. There were like I had a crew, that I lifted with at Pacific Coast, Laura's at the sweatshop, and at Westside. That part is fun. It's like a family dynamic. You show up, you train together, you kind of like, you have that weekly routine. Um, I like that aspect of it. I don't like with the multiply community, it's just like, there's some toxic shit, right? But I guess there is in raw too. So you have both, but it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird to me. And maybe it's now because like I'm in the raw space, but it's like, I'm whether it's raw, single ply, multiply, like if the standard is good, that's like the standard. So I just don't like that. It's just like, it's multiply shitting on raw, but like you don't really hear a lot of raw people talking about, single ply or multiply. So, because I've even had a couple people, talk to me about like, wow, you went raw and you just like, you just this is such a change in you, and it's like, why not though? Like,
Yeah.
why can't I do all of it? Like, who's to say that if you do multiply, you just have to do multiply? And it kind of caught me off guard because it's just like, it's not that I think I'm better than anybody. It's not that like these standards are very, very hard. They're way harder than multiply. I will stand on that. And like, if you don't, I didn't really see that until I started going to the competitions and I started doing that like, I thought I was squatting to depth. My freaking like I'm squatting low, and they're like, "You're high," and I'm like, "What?" So it's kind of like that mentality thing. It's just like, yeah, that's I would say that's like kind of a deterrent. Um, so let's see what else. Um, The I don't like the part, so I think that, like, if you have multiply and unlimited, right? Like, there are the banded shirts, right? Like, do you compete with a banded shirt?
Not yet. I
Not
have
yet?
so I think, yeah, this is we're gonna open this can of worms here because it's always a good conversation. And but for me personally, I think unless I can I keep telling myself I will not get in a band shirt, well, at least compete in one until I can hit 700 in poly, because in my opinion, obviously there's no necessarily backing, this is just how my brain works. I think you need to kind of earn the right to use it. And to be honest, I think most people that compete unlimited, like most band shirt presses, like for a, a 275 male, like if you're not pressing close to 1,000, like it doesn't, like it's not impressive to me, to be honest. And that might sound stupid because I probably can't even press 700 in it, but like I don't know.
No, I'd say you could. I honestly, I feel like once I was put in those, I did 2 meets, and I'm just like, one, I kept seeing a lot of people injure themselves with
Yeah,
it because it was just so it was if you can control the bar path, you can bench it, but, like, what if you can't? And then you go this way, and then your forearms are broke. Um, that's dangerous territory, you know? I think there's a lot of people that I see that are benching like they have they have no business in them. They're benching 135, and these are girls, and I just saw this, the other day, and then she's doing like 400 reverse band in a band shirt. She can't even like control it. And I'm like, what coach would put their lifter in that? They can't even bench fucking 135. You have
yeah.
no business doing it. So I think a lot of people like you've no business doing, that. But people putting or just being in band shirts just right off the bat. That's a tough one.
Yeah, like
So,
oh, I'm doing my first equip meet and you're in a band shirt. It's like I said, I feel like you have to kind of earn it, especially when you see people
yeah,
like Tony and Jimmy that are pressing these insane numbers. But
1,500 pounds. Yeah.
yeah, but like if you look, Kolb has the single ply record. He's benched over 1,000 in poly. Tony has
You've
plenty of,
earned that way.
yeah, so they've
You
earned
can't I
it.
don't right, and I think you have to start with an SDP first, like, that should be, like, a gradual thing, so, yeah, but and anyway, back to pros and cons.
No,
The road trip.
I think I got a question that kind of
Okay,
relates to the band shirt. So,
yeah.
um, obviously you mentioned in the questionnaire the band shirts and kind of the West Side board. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, honestly, that was one thing, like, that I just and a lot of other, like, West Siders just did not agree with is, like, for instance, Rob Farrell took Coker's name off the board for that. And I don't know, personally, I just think that's wrong. Um, and that's my opinion. Like, don't come at me. And I had this conversation with Lou. Lou is the ultimate, he gets the ultimate say. So I can have my opinion. And it was just like, I watched Coker like die to make weight to do that. And he did that in an SDP. And then you just do it in an unlimited shirt. Like, for me, like that board is sacred and it should have numbers on it that deserve to be there. So I do not believe that band shirts, band benches should be on there. That's just like, and that's what Lou was like, are you mad? And I'm like, I'm not mad. That's my opinion. I'll stick to it, but it's your board. Like it's your rules. So, it doesn't matter what I think. It's your board. It's your rules. If that's what you want on your board, put it on your board. Um, like when his girlfriend broke like my 395 bench, again, same thing in a band shirt. And it's like, do you think I'm going to go down to 132 to go beat that? Like, fuck that. No, I'm not. Do I think it deserves to be on there? Absolutely not. So, and she was at West Side for like 2 weeks. So that was like a respect thing. Like, but like I said, his board, his role. I have my opinion, and that's that. So
Yeah, and I think it kind of is interesting, and I think just like it is on open powerlifting, the same thing with the board. It should be something that's kept separate, and like I think getting the right to be on the board isn't necessarily the problem. I think it's what it's erasing is the more issue that comes up with that.
exactly. Because like I remember trying to make weight myself and whatever, not a big deal. But like that doing that in SDP is like so much harder. If you can't, bench even close to these numbers in an SDP, and then you're just like doing these insane numbers in an unlimited like band shirt, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think that's as respectable. And that's like I said, that board, like there's no way in hell I would ever like I benched 455 pretty easily. Could I have pushed myself for 500? Absolutely. Like, but what if I had been doing this? I only did two meets in unlimited before I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't really care for this. But if I like would have pushed myself, like I would never feel okay taking Laura's. I think her bench is like 530. I would never ever feel okay like taking that off. I think it's a respect thing. Like she did that in an SDP.
Yeah,
Like if I'm not doing it in SDP, I'm not taking her name off the board. Like I don't care. I just wouldn't do it. And I know that's his rules, but like I just would stand by that. And it's just like, you know, you want to kick me out of the gym, kick me out of the gym. Like I stand by what I stand by, you know?
yeah.
So
But I
I
think
don't,
we can dive into a little bit about your time at Westside as well. I think obviously anyone listening would loves to hear stories about Westside. It's kind of a very hot topic in powerlifting, obviously, and especially in the multiply world. And I think everyone there has very similar experiences, but everyone has their own unique experience. So let's start by talking about what kind of first got you in the door there.
Lou had been asking me to go there, he for quite some time. I always had like pretty close relationship with him. Um, you know, so this was like 2018, right before WPO. Um, I decided I was going to train there 2 days a week and get on the board. And honestly, when he kept asking me, I just kept turning him down. Like, no, no, no. It's a 2 hour drive. That's 4 hours a round trip. Like, that's twice a week. I have to leave my house at like 2:30 in the morning and I have a crew here. Like, there was just a lot of different factors. And then I started realizing like how much it scared me because I'd be like in charge of my own training. Like there would be a lot of things that were just honestly just scary to me. And I don't know, one day I was just like, I just made the jump. I called him and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And he's like, all right, cool. You start Monday. And so like I talked to Laura and we had a talk and everything. And that's when, I just made that transition. And, as much as it was hard to leave like my training partners, I did something that was like scary and I learned a lot about myself, like a lot. And it was honestly one of like the most like it was a pivotal moment in my life and I would have made that choice 10,000 times over again because I like I said I learned so much about who I am, what I stand for, like everything. It was very, very, very important to me. And like those morning drives, like I would leave my house at 2:30 in the morning, and it's just silence, like dark, on the way there. And like every time I'd pull up, like Lou's waiting on me in his car, and it's just like those, like that alone time for myself, and like having that, like talking to him too, like before people would get there, it was just like that was such a I don't know explain that, but it was a really like life-changing moment for me because it was just like almost like a therapeutic time for me to go. And then I would, your max effort training at 5 a.m. And like those, talks with Lou, like I'll never not, like that was huge. So a lot of growth there and a lot of like meaningful life conversations with him. Like that was just and now that he's gone, like it meant a lot to me. So yeah.
So,
But then trained there for going on like my first meet was 2018 WPO. So like when I first got to West Side, started training with Melissa and Sinead. There was like a couple other people there, but like I said, some of them weren't just they came and gone, I guess. So that was like when Hoff and all them were there. They weren't there like too much longer after like I first got there, but I didn't really see them anyway because they were like the night crew. We were like the morning crew. So um but yeah, that's kind of how I like got in the door there. But like he had always seen like obviously I trained with Laura and we'd go train periodically. And then like I remember he put me in a deadlift suit and he's like, pull 500. And I pulled 500. And I was like, oh shit. Like, so he's like, you belong here. And I'm just like, whatever. I didn't really take that offer too serious until, years later.
yeah. And obviously, Louis' impact on the sport is incredible, and everyone has tons of lessons and conversations and stories with him. But um, is there anything specifically, or maybe one thing that kind of sticks out in your mind the most with him?
Um, yes, actually, a lot of things. There was a lot of things that I was going through in 2018, and like his phone calls or the books he would give me, some books he would just give me, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, until I read it, I was just like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Um, and it would just, he's so like that side of him, not a lot of people see. So, and he was having these talks, but like when like he would bring up some like example, but it didn't make sense at the time. And then like when I actually like looked deeper into the meaning, I was just like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. But it was just about like friends or relationships or like what you're going through. And so like those will always be like very very special to me, and I will always save those books like for the rest of my whole life. But Louis, like there's so many sides of him that like not a lot of people knew about or like seen, like we'd be, and a lot of people know this, but like he would go to breakfast and you know he would feed these homeless people. So it's like you have this side, and then you would have we'd go back to the gym, and you know, I remember one time there's this person, like you would have some interns, and sometimes he would stick these interns like with us, and he would just throw some briefs on them, and they're like super like skinny, they don't have any muscle, and they're like, keep up with her, and I'm just like, okay. So one morning we just kept loading plates and plates and plates. And I'm like, Lou, like, you're going to kill him. And he goes, I don't care. Like, we have breakfast. We gotta be done by 6. If he's here, he's here. And I'm just like, this kid is like, couldn't even like unrack the weight. And he's just like, I'm like, he's going to die. And he's like, well, it is what it is.
It's like the Rocky, if he dies, he dies.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Holy shit, okay." But most of those guys would, like, throw up and just, like, because it was they come in on a Friday, which is a dynamic, lower day, and, they just couldn't hang, so, those memories are, like, super funny to me.
Yeah, and
Let's see, when one time, because like, Lou would never he would never let me do, like he would let me have free reign. Because like, when I went there, like, I was in meat prep, and I was like, he's like, he mostly had control, like, over what people are doing, to an extent, and because honestly, if you're there, you're either a number or you're an experiment. Like, let's just be honest, and, you have to kinda put that in your brain. But so he would have us do like 5 by 5s, and like the girls were like up to 90%, like a ton of bar weight, and we're going against blues, greens, purples. Like my body had never been so broken, but it was so unbelievably strong. I remember like leaving there just like swallowing ibuprofen. I'm just like, I'm so sore. But those, like, I got off topic. Sorry. Where was I? um, but we were, what was I talking about? I don't know. I don't know. It's been a long day.
Yeah, but well, I have a couple things to touch on with that. I think
Well,
obviously
yeah,
one of the
go
main
ahead.
things with West Side is um yeah, everyone does conjugate now. Like everyone tries to apply it, but at the end of the day, like the environment there is what kind of made people, the recruitment selection, the lessons from Louis, the mental aspect of it. So for you, um what were some of the things there in terms of the environment or the culture that made it so high octane that got you to that level where you got to?
Um, ooh, like mindset, and like Lou had a lot of respect for me because what I was going back on earlier, let me just like go back. Um, there was like for meat prep, when I say that I had a goal and a plan, like I had exactly, I knew I was gonna go 1500 plus at 131. And that was, like I said, a really like hard time in my life. I told Lou, like, I'm gonna get this total and these numbers, like just let me do what I do. And so he did. He let me do like my meat prep exactly how I wanted to, exactly how, and I was in, the girls that I was training with too. So like I kind of used, like, I know that was like a bold move to just like, I'm gonna come in there and not like call shots, but like I did because I knew what I was capable of. And I said, you can have full control if I don't get numbers on that board. And I did. I got the total, the total record, the squat record, the deadlift record. And that wasn't even my best meet. Like I went like I only got like two squats, one bench. I almost bombed on bench and like two deadlifts. I don't know. It was not my best meet, but like I am so like it made me so like mentally strong that Lou like respected that about me. Like he was, I don't know how to explain it, but like I would have some crazy ideas. And then because he never wanted to do chain ever, never wanted to chain. It was always banned. But just because like the height differences,
Yeah.
but like, I we would do it and he'd be like, okay. But that I think like he would try to break me and he would do a lot of things like in that gym that were really fucked up that would try to break other people and break me. And I can tell you in 5 years, like he broke me once. And that was literally because I mean, he didn't really, but like he knew it got to me.
Yeah.
But like I think he wouldn't, I would always like prove him wrong. And I would always fucking show up. Always. I was super dependable, but like mentally, like he knew I was pretty unbreakable. And you have to have that mindset to train there. Like you can't be just weak. And if he would get to you, there was a lot of people that he got to on purpose. And that was like very you could tell like what he was doing, or at least I could see like exactly who he's working on. And it's just like he's working some kind of angle to weed you out, but he doesn't want to do it because he's just testing you,
Yeah.
like for instance my arm break. He kept telling me, he signed me up for a meet. Like I broke my arm in March. He signed me up for a meet like a month later. Like my arm was in half, like out the other side. My bones were literally held together by a plate. And he's like, you're doing a meet. He tried like 3 days later, he tried to hand me 40-pound dumbbells. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I said, you healed your shit once or multiple times. I'm healing mine one time. That's it. And he knew I had a gym at River City. So like as much as I love, training at Westside, and that's, a big part of my training, but like I have something good at River City. So if I'm not healing this, multiple times. So I'd always joke like, okay, kick me out. And he wouldn't.
Yeah.
But he knew I was so he was trying to get to me because he's like, you're just not gonna come back. You're just not gonna come back. He'd sign me up for meet. And I'd be like, nope, nope, not until I'm ready. Not until like I actually feel like I can first off do something. I'm not gonna go back to a meet, one, injure myself, or two, just do something not of consequence. Like, who wants to put up shitty numbers? There's a guy that actually this year broke his arm in March, somewhere around there. Just did a meet, broke it again. Like, I don't want to be that person. And I honestly, I told him, I said, I'm doing this on my time. Like, that's it. And he didn't like that I'm just telling him that. Because most people probably would have just been like, okay, and just did it. But I'm like, no, I was very firm. So after that, he ended up like, there was sometimes he wouldn't even talk to me because he was just so pissed off. So then I actually, because that's kind of when COVID happened, and like I actually probably did a meet probably a year and a half after fracturing my arm. I broke the squat record, the deadlift record, and the total record. And he's like, see, I fucking told you. And I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, you literally said I wouldn't come back. You kept telling me, but he kept just trying to plant seeds. And if you know Lou, like, that's what he's trying. He's trying to like amp you up and like make you pissed off to where you're like, fuck that. I mean, Mike will do it to me. He'll be like, hey, you're squatting high. You're being scared of it. And I'm just like, fuck you. Like, no, I'm not. So that then but then I'll turn that and I'll just like bury my squats. And yesterday I did 300, 308, 309, something like that with 80 and chain for reps. And I'm like low. But yeah, when people tell me I can't do something, like that only adds to my fire. So Lou knew that, and he knew I could turn that into like I could flip that switch. So that mindset is what made me successful at Westside. That
Yeah.
was a super long explanation.
It was a great explanation. I think I want to touch a bit more on that, but I do want to ask before, um, what does it take to get respect from Louis?
So be strong. He respected people that, hmm, if you are a mentally strong person and you could put up some numbers, like that's what got his respect. Um, that's a tough one because I've seen him not give that respect a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like I think that like the people that I look at that he did respect, you know, Laura, Chuck, like he respected what they've done, what they've given, Amy. Like you look at these people and it's just like they're they've given so much and they put numbers on that board. Like if you can put numbers on that board for him, I think he respects you. But I also think he respects you even more if he can't break you mentally. Like that's the ultimate. Like he'll respect you for putting numbers on the board, but it'll also fuck with you. But if he breaks you mentally, all respect is out the window at that point.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that, I think
You-
it is a difficult question because I think something that kind of maybe I don't know if this is something that I think about or this is something that maybe crosses other people's minds, but a lot of people or almost everyone that has trained with Louis, had experience with Louis, have so much respect and love for him, but on the surface it may seem like he seems too hard-headed and so like cold and stuff, but they still have that love. And you were saying before you're either a number or an experiment, but I think it goes deeper than that. So I think that's kind of the reasoning I asked that question.
yeah. I mean, but at the end, like I do think that it was very like at the end of the day, if I was like weak, you know, mentally or physically, you wouldn't be there. So like you are an experiment. If you listen, you know, to his crazy ideas, like for instance, like a 12-inch camber deadlift, like the fuck? We had these, but you were an experiment. You're there's sometimes that, people would uh come up to me, and it'd be something like I would do just for like one training block, just to see like what, he would throw some crazy shit at me, and I'm just like, okay, let's do it. And and he would mention it in a podcast, and maybe it was like on his, the West Side one, and maybe I didn't listen to it or whatever. And I'd have somebody come up to me and meet, like, hey, I tried that. I'm just like, oh God, don't do that. You're gonna get hurt.
Yeah. But
So
kind of going back to what we were talking about lighting a fire under your ass and kind of having that like, fuck you, like I'm gonna do this anyways. Like that's something that if someone can get me into that mental state, like I've hit numbers that I wasn't like even myself. I'm like, I have pretty high goals and I'm pretty lofty with my goals and I have pretty high confidence in some of the numbers I can hit. And when you get to that switch for me, it even brings it up another level. And I'll never forget, like I was doing, so Skiba does like a 3 week wave of like box squat with camber bar, forward bands, chains, and like it increases each week. And I think I missed like twice or once or twice. And I was like, I'm going to go up again. And they're like, you're not going to hit it. And it's like, all right, watch. Like, and then I hit it. And then it's just things like that when someone can get you in that state of like pissed off, but not being out of control, like chaotic is a whole different
right.
level.
Yeah, especially after missing it twice.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but you're like, wait, don't fucking doubt me. So
And same thing goes for like my first multiply meet. I remember like Rupo was like, "Yo, I don't know if you're gonna squat eat this meet," and then he's like, "Maybe we'll see." And then it ended up being my second attempt, and I smoked it. I'm like, "All right, just keep doubting me, and things will keep going up." And I know it's not like maybe sometimes it's a realistic doubt because like they can be crazy goals, but at the same time, there's sometimes that switch that you can hit that you just don't see.
but I think you have to have those crazy goals. You have to like what I was telling you, like when I would never take a third squat ever. Literally ever. I would open up really heavy, take the world record on the second and be done. Like, why waste my energy? And if I happen to miss it on the second, I would still have a third. So I only do 2 meets per year. So why even like risk that, So, but you have to have those crazy goals. And, I think there's some people that can like turn it on, and there's people that just can't. And, like I was talking earlier, it was just like you see that in people, and like that they have it. And I didn't believe, like when Laura was like, you're gonna do big things. And I'm just like, I'm literally a mom who lifts. Like I have no idea what that even means, but okay. And here I am almost like 15 years later in this sport. And it's just like I've seen so many people, and it's like, wow, some of them will surprise you because they have so much potential and you think that they're going to do so much, and they just kind of don't. And it's those some of those people that are like kind of, you see them, they have that spark and they can like turn it on. And it's just like those are the people that are just like, they're so fun to coach. Like they're just, I don't know. It's so cool to see.
Yeah, and from my own personal experience, like not like I never thought I was going to be like one of the strongest, but I always knew I had the capability to be just like generally like strong. But
Yeah.
now I'm starting to get into a territory of numbers and that I didn't even think like if I go back into my notes, obviously like I wasn't even thinking about doing multiply then, but even some of my raw numbers and you look at like my lifetime goals, like I'm already approaching those now and I probably have another 15 years in my powerlifting career to bring those up. So like having that training crew and those partners and like
Right.
people that believe in you, like that's one of the biggest things that I think Skiba and the Covenant Conjugate has been so successful is just the obviously the competition between lifters. Like we all have similar max
Yes.
effort days and it's kind of that same dynamic as like any crew would have, but having a bunch of people that actually believe in you when you sometimes doubt yourself is huge.
And I also see like that in you said 15 years. So it got me thinking like, I think like Skiba, like I respect him and Jenna so much. Like they're great people. What they have is like great. And it's like a lot of people that they produce are just like, it's cool to see because they bring that like that fire, right? But like there's such a long standing, like there's not a whole lot of like in the raw community. I think their like lifting careers are shorter lived,
Yeah.
like for versus, multiply. So like a lot of those are like long standing careers. You don't really see that in the raw space. So it just got me thinking.
Yeah, and I think actually a little bit about I think the reason obviously like there's a lot more people in raw, and I think the difference where that comes in of where when people commit to multiply, you're kind of making a big commitment already by relying on people, by purchasing all this crazy expensive shit that you keep purchasing and purchasing and purchasing, and are on a Facebook group and continue to purchase stuff. But I think that commitment level of like, all right, I'm doing multiply now, like you're gonna end up doing it for much longer. You can, yeah, wrecks your body in like a different way, but um it's just that commitment level that also, and the niche factor of it too, just the fact that there's less people in it. They're like, I'm going to be in it for longer, rather than someone can hop into a raw world, train for 2 or 3 years, be like, all right, I don't like this anymore, or they'll break an arm or break a leg and then they're done.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that, like, but, and it's funny you say like that the equipped lifters, like all the money they spend, but like raw lifters spend so much money. Like, how many knee sleeves do they buy for the year? Their singlets, their wrist wraps, like they spend a shit ton of money on that stuff too. I would never have guessed that. Like, now that I'm in that raw space, and like it's just different. And the meets, like I'm doing a meet in October in San Diego, and it's like I've done a lot of different things this year. So this is going to be like a 3 hour meet. It's like power bar only. Um, and these are like high production meets. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a world of difference, but it's been super cool to see. Like, I just went to Las Vegas with Mike, and we just like the meets, they have like AM sessions and PM sessions, and like they're super small, but they move so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that multiply could do it. No, like, no. A 3 hour meet, like that's insane.
Yeah,
I
like the
mean,
ABS
and
meets and yeah.
yeah, like, and the times, it's like you start at 9, it starts at 9. It's not like, oh, is there, who's ready, who needs to warm up. So it's just been a lot of change, and it's like, I don't, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it's just like it's just vastly different. So it's just been cool because, like I said, I've done multiply, I've done raw with wraps, now I've done raw, and that was kind of like a weird thing because I didn't even plan on doing that. Like, honestly, I kind of had like a weird time after Lou's death where I'm just kind of like, I'm not at West Side. I don't really like have a whole lot of people at River City that are even like lifting anymore. I mean, we went from like 12 females to like just two.
Oh wow.
Like, and then Alex Donald like came over from, she's training there. I half with Laura and half with she's training half with me. So it was just like, we would kind of, that was a female that like could push me, and she's in the raw space, and but like she's put on gear too, so it's kind of been, I mean, brace, but whatever. But she's, we just started off with like so many people, and like there's nobody now. So it was just like, it was such a weird time in my like lifting. I just kind of like would just show up because like that's just what you do. It's kind of like, could you imagine your life without training now?
No.
No. It's like, what do people even do after work? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Do you just sit on the couch? Do you just like take a walk? I don't know, but I have to train. Like, I don't, I have to have that schedule and have that routine. And like, whether I'm lifting, and I was lifting like pretty heavy. Sometimes I would just throw on some gear or just stay raw. And then like, when I started dating Mike, he was like, and he never pushed me into it at all. But like, he's a really well-known raw coach that's coached a lot of high-end lifters. And he's like, just go do a meet. Just go get a 500 dots. Then you can be invited to wherever. And I'm just like, I don't really care about that. But like, it was a challenge. And I do really well with challenges. So it's just like, when I took that, then I did a casual meet in December. It was like a sleeved meet. It was at SBC, and it was like a casual 500 dots. It was cool. So I was like, all right, well, this is fun. So then it got me into like more invites. So I just got invited to one of the abs meet in San Diego. That was, so that's my next one. But it's like, I like that challenge because it's one, a shorter meet, and it's like the standards are really, really high, and it will push me to lift to more of those higher standards. But it's like, power bar only, like deadlift, squat, bench. Like that's a pretty challenge. Like that's a big challenge for me because I probably won't like that's hard. Like I just did strongman and I had to deadlift on that like whatever mammoth bar,
Yeah.
elephant bar, and it's like not for short people. And it's like pushing myself for that. It was just like something to cross off the list, you know? So it's just a lot of things that I've done this year to like really push myself. And that's just another one. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I think uh, we can wrap things up a little bit here, but we'll kind of talk about this upcoming meet, maybe what the plan is for in terms of maybe training, maybe some of the goals you have, and kind of just a general
This is like a walkout meet, so this is like combo rack. This will be my first like raw
raw.
meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, super raw. So it's in San Diego, which I've never been to California, so I think that's going to be super fun. Um, that one is like I said, it's in October. My goals for that, I want to. I don't really know, let's say like I would like to squat like 430, 440, maybe. Um anything over a 250, 255-ish bench. I want to get closer to like my old like 270 raw bench. That'd be really cool. And I'm benching, like I'm doing a lot of AMRAPs. So like, you know, Mike does my programming and we always just do like a really heavy we'll do a couple heavy and then we do always AMRAPs, and that has made me like ridiculously strong right now. I feel pretty good. So I would say 430, 440 squat, anything over 250 bench, and anything like maybe like a 475 deadlift somewhere around there. No, that's probably a little high, but um I deadlifted what 446 or something pretty easy at my last meet, and I'm feeling even stronger now. Now that I've been like really into training and very like my fire is back. Um, and I'm pushed. Like I train at a SBC, and it's such a great gym. Like I love it. I love the people. It's been so good for me here in Kansas City. So yeah, I plan on doing that, and then I might do King and Queens of the Platform in
December.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
At
that'd be
Long's
super
gym.
cool. Yes,
Yeah.
because he just has like a super fun, like his meets are really ran really well, but also you have like Christy Hawkins, who's has like a 700 dots. Like she's
Insanity.
insane. And like what I love about her is like she's such a good human and she's so ridiculously strong, but like she's just great. I don't know. I'm there for like the experiences and just like to lift, obviously I would, there's going to be super strong people there, and I'm kind of like I'm getting into the raw space. So is it going to be like highly competitive for me? Like obviously like they're crazy strong. So like, but it's something for me to push for. And as long as I'm always adding to my total, like I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. So, and I do think I can get close to like a 550 dots. Like, why not? So, it's funny because Leah asked me the other day, we were talking about like, why does multiply like use dots? Like, you never say like, oh, I gotta whatever. Cause like my dots is like near 700 for multiply, but like you don't say that. So, like, what do you even say?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because every time I go on Open Powerlifting to look, and it's like, oh, they have 800. Wait, no, they don't have an 800 gloss. That's dots.
Right.
Like,
Is that Glossbrenner? Is that what we're using? Because when I first started powerlifting, it was like Schwartz Malone, and then it went to Glossbrenner, and then like I don't know, you just don't hear it like when multiply people talk about their totals, right?
yeah,
So I don't know.
and it's always the funny. The no coefficients in the jungle, and it's always the super
Yeah,
heavyweight multiply guys. Like, oh, we're just big total guys, and we're like, all right,
right.
cool. But
That
guess
was
guess what
one
gets
thing.
invited to meets?
Exactly. And that was like one of my like coolest moments ever was being at the women's meet and breaking. Laura was the only one that got 11 times body weight. and I beat that right after her. Like that was such a definitive moment in my powerlifting career. Like I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Well, I think I wish you luck at this upcoming meet. I hope
thank you.
the raw
Appreciate
world treats you nicely. But
it.
I'll
Thanks.
ask you my final question. If you could give a new powerlifter or someone going into their first meet a word of advice, what would you tell them?
Do not, do not, don't cut weight. Have fun. You only get one first meet experience. You might as well make it great. Because if it's shitty and you cut weight and it's horrible, like you'll remember that forever and you might not even do it again. So, like, go there, have your first meet expectation, like, go 9 for 9. Like, that was mine and I didn't cut weight and I had a absolutely great meet experience. So, I don't know. And that's what like made me like hooked.
Yeah,
I loved the people that were there. Like I will never forget my first meet experience, but the best piece of advice I can give to a newer lifter is don't have these, make great attempt selections and just if you can triple it, maybe open with it.
yeah,
But just have, you don't want to bomb out your first meet. Just don't cut weight. Just have fun with it. You have there's so many meets. You can always have that later on, but when you're actually taking those chances, but definitely not in your first one. So
yeah. Don't make your first sip sour. I think.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.